How's it going, everybody? Handsome Dan here with episode 7 of the Grand Tournament. We're at the official midway point of the maximum 13 games of what's turning into a real Donnybrook. If you haven't seen the previous episodes, make sure to check out the full playlist in the description below. Let's head over to the scoreboard to see exactly where we stand. Caleb, Jelly, and I are all tied at 2 games apiece, and so any one of us can get to match point with a win in this game. Trailing behind still is Derek, who still has yet to find a win. That means Derek will be picking after the rest of us to try to see if he can steal one. Let's go to the chosen decks and starting hands now. So maybe 5th time is the charm for Caleb, who still hasn't managed to put all the pieces together for Ilharg to score a win. With 2 other people at 2 wins, he'll hope that there's enough heat off of him to sneak attack out some big creatures and come away victorious. He unfortunately has to mull to 6, keeping 2 mountains, Tybalt's Trickery, Arcane Signet, Lightning Bolt, and Expedition Map. Jelly's going to be going back to Talrand this game, fresh off of his win with Lord Windgrace. Talrand is another deck that's struggled for Jelly lately, but if he can hit his removal and counters, he'll be able to build up an unstoppable Drake army. Jelly also has to mull to 6, keeping 3 islands, Solve the Equation, Thwart, and Kira Great Glass Spinner. For me, I'll be running it back with Extus, aka Awaken the Blood avatar. My hope is to get my token engine going as fast as possible, so I can cast Awaken the Blood avatar as many times as I can. I'll hold on to a hand with 2 swamps, Isolated Chapel, Village Rites, Martial Coup, Court of Grace, and Orzhov Signet. Finally, Derek will be bringing Varina back for the first time since Game 1. He's hoping that the go-wide zombie strategy for Varina will be good enough to beat the other 3 decks at the table and allow him to finally break the slump. He'll start off with a Swamp, Mana Confluence, Ancient Tomb, Reconnaissance, Gleaming Overseer, Shambling Ghast, and Tombstone Stairwell. I win the pregame die roll this time around, so I'll be going first. I'll be leading off by playing an Isolated Chapel tapped and pass. Derek will play a Swamp as land for turn, then tap to cast a Shambling Ghast. Caleb goes next, playing a Mountain and tapping to cast an Expedition Map. Jelly's just going to play an Island and then pass. On turn 2, I'll play a Swamp, then tap down to cast an Orzhov Signet. Derek will play a Mana Confluence for his turn, tapping it and losing a life to cast Reconnaissance. He'll then swing his Ghast at Caleb for 1 damage, and he'll remember to untap it from Reconnaissance a little later. Caleb just plays another Mountain and then passes. Jelly's going to follow suit with an Island, also passing. Back over to me, where I'll play a Swamp and then cast a Solemn Simulacrum. The sad robot will go get me a Mountain to the battlefield tapped, and I'll be done after that. Derek plays the Misty Rainforest as his land for turn, cracking it to shotgun a Watery Grave. Caleb's going to crack his Expedition Map at the same time to get a Hall of the Bandit Lord to his hand. Derek's then going to tap down to cast a Gleaming Overseer, amassing to make a zombie army token, then swing his Ghast at Jelly. With nothing else afterwards, he'll pass. Caleb plays his Hall of the Bandit Lord as land for turn, which comes in tapped, and then he'll play out a Fire Diamond, also tapped. Jelly then goes to his turn, where he'll play an Island and cast Kira, Great Glass Spinner. Over to my turn, where I'll play a Bastion of Remembrance, making a token in the process, but then pass with nothing else to do. Derek will be playing an Ancient Tomb, tapping out and losing 3 life to cast his commander, Varina. He'll go to combat, swinging his Gleaming Overseer and Ghast at Caleb, with his zombie army going at Jelly. He'll gain 3 life on the attack trigger from Varina, drawing 3 cards and discarding 3. No one has any blocks, so after damage, Derek's going to Reconnaissance out his creatures to leave him untapped. Caleb is up next, and although he has Ilharg mana, he chooses to play it safe and just plays a Mountain, then casts an Arcane Signet. Jelly's also playing it slow, dropping an Island and then casting his commander, Talrand. On Jelly's end step, I'll cast Village Rites, sacrificing Sad Robot to draw 3 cards total. Bastion of Remembrance will also trigger, making everyone lose a life while I gain 1. We'll be at turn 5 now, where I'll start by playing a Bajuka Bog, exiling Derek's graveyard. I'll then cast Stram's Expertise, which will make me 3 servos and allow me to cast Arcane Signet from my hand for free. I'll be done after that. On Derek's turn, he's going to go straight to combat, swinging all of his creatures over to me. He'll get Varina triggers first, gaining 4 life, and drawing 4 and discarding 4. I decide not to block any of it, and after damage, Derek will use Reconnaissance to untap his creatures. He'll drop a Path of Ancestry as land for turn, then tap down to cast an Alhamrad's Archive, which will double his Varina triggers for the future. Over to Caleb, who sees a moment to strike. so he'll cast his commander, Ilharg, losing 3 life from the Hall of the Bandit Lord, but giving Ilharg haste. He'll go to combat, swinging Ilharg at me and dropping down a Dragon Tyrant on his attack trigger. This is going to be going over to Derek, and neither of us choose to block. Jelly will start off his turn after that by casting Preordain, making a Drake on the cast trigger. He'll leave 1 card on top and draw it, then go to combat. He's also going to be swinging Cure at me, which I cannot block. Jelly's going to pass after that. The guns are out across the table now, and I see an opportunity to set Caleb back by sacking my 3 servos, getting 3 bash triggers, and tapping mana to cast Awaken the Blood Avatar to make a Blood Avatar and force my opponents to sack a creature. However, Jelly responds, casting Swan Song to counter my spell. Jelly gets a Drake from the cast, and I get a bird from the counterspell. With my original plan out of the way, I go to try to rebuild, casting a Skull Clamp to get some card draw going. However, Jelly returns 3 islands to his hand to cast Thwart to counter my Skull Clamp.
I attempt to cast Thwart. I'll return 3 islands to my hand as part of Thwart's cost. Counter the Skull Clamp.
Alright. Jesus.
He'll get a Drake from the cast, but he'll leave himself with just 1 island. If nothing else, I'll cast Court of Grace, which surprisingly doesn't get countered, making me the Monarch. At my end step, Jelly will opt to cast Pongify. He considers casting it on Ilharg, but instead he chooses to destroy Varina. He'll get a Drake on the cast, and Derek will get an Ape token, and I'll draw for Monarch before ending the turn. Derek will now play a Crypt of Agadeem as land for turn, then tap down, losing 3 life, to recast Varina. Derek remembers at this point that he needs to make an Ape token from the Pongify, so he draws 1 manually.
Ape.
Don't know how
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
fucking
Skin mask that we got over here.
I don't know how I feel about it.
With his masterpiece finished, Derek will go to combat, swinging his zombies and Ape over to Caleb. He'll trigger Varina, which will essentially be doubled because of the Alhamrad's Archive. Derek will gain 6 life, draw 6 cards, and only discard 3. Caleb can't block, so Derek will reconnaissance out after the damage. He'll pass after that. Caleb will now start his turn off with a mountain, then he'll go to combat. He swings Ilharg at me again, and drops down the Dragon Tyrant going to Derek. I'll throw my token in front of Ilharg just in case, but before damage, Caleb will tap down and cast Savage Beating, choosing the Entwine option to give his creatures double strike and to get an additional combat. We'll eat the damage and my token will die, triggering a Bastion of Remembrance. Caleb will also become the Monarch. We go now to Caleb's second combat, where he'll swing out again with the same targets. Neither Derek nor I can do anything about this, so I'll throw the bird token in front of Ilharg just to get a Bastion of Remembrance trigger before both me and Derek die. This leaves just Caleb and Jelly left at the start of Jelly's turn, so Jelly will play an island and swing 4 Drakes out at Caleb to claim the Monarch. He'll pass after that. We'll go back to Caleb, who will go to combat immediately. Jelly will respond by trying to cast a Resculpt, making a Drake, but Caleb will play a Deflecting Swat to change the target to one of Jelly's tapped Drakes. This will fizzle because of Kira, but Ilharg lives to attack. On attack, the Dragon Tyrant will come down, and Jelly will block it with a new Drake. Before damage, Caleb will activate its Fire Breathing ability to give it +3 power, hitting Jelly for a total of 22. Caleb will then cast Lightning Bolt on the Drake with its shields down. He remembers to reclaim Monarch a bit later, but he'll pass for now. Now we'll be over to Jelly, who plays an island and taps out to cast Solve the Equation, making a Drake, and going to his library to tutor for Gush. He'll swing Talrand in at Caleb to reclaim the Monarch, but he'll have to pass after that. On Caleb's turn, he plays a mountain and then goes in for the kill. He'll swing with Ilharg, dropping down Dragon Tyrant, and Jelly will respond by casting Gush to draw 2 cards and make a Drake. He'll throw everything he can in front of the Dragon Tyrant, but Caleb just has to pump it with Fire Breathing to have lethal. This means that Caleb is going to be your winner for Game 7 of the Grand Tournament. I guess you can call this game a bit of a perfect storm for Caleb and Ilharg. The deck has had flashes of brilliance in previous games, but it really showed how quickly games can go from 0 to 60 when Ilharg's left unchecked. All it can take sometimes is 1 extra combat step, and any semblance of life lead or board presence you may think you have can disappear. In previous games, Ilharg tended to sputter once the pig got removed once or twice, but he was allowed to remain on the board the entire game, making Caleb the first of 3 wins. Derek's Varina engine was going pretty smoothly in this game, but he seemed about 1 turn off from being able to really get things going. The Alhammar's archive with Varina was going to be a huge problem that none of us except for Jelly seemed to have an answer for, but unfortunately he came up a little bit short after getting smacked around by the Dragon Tyrant. Derek still can't seem to catch a break, but it certainly hasn't been for lack of trying. Unfortunately, now that there's a player at 3 wins, it's become a near do-or-die situation for Derek in future games. As for me, my deck was also about a turn behind where I needed it to be. Had my Awaken the Blood avatar been able to resolve, I might have been able to neutralize Caleb's aggression, allowing me to get more token generation going, and start slowly draining the board. While I did still have pieces in my hand to help me rebuild my board, they weren't enough to help me survive the onslaught from Ilharg that followed immediately after. The person with the most opportunity to answer Caleb this game was Jelly, and I'd be lying to you if I said I understood his thought process through this match. Ironically, this is also one of Jelly's best games so far from Drake production with Talrand, but his downfall was choosing to counter Awaken the Blood avatar, which would have forced Caleb to sacrifice Ilharg. Combined with his decision to use Thwart on the Skull Clamp and to use Pongify on Varina to leave Ilharg on the table, he was left pretty defenseless when it came down to having to face Ilharg one-on-one. The big takeaway from this game would be to exercise restraint when assessing threats and playing interaction. Players have a tendency to snap react to cards that are going to minorly impact them in the short term, when in most cases, the cards with the most impact are the ones that are going to provide long-term, lasting value. Take a moment to consider the overall impact on the table, and if losing something minimal on your board means stopping the person who's most ahead, your minor loss might be a necessary sacrifice to get the board back to parity. Let's take a look over at the scoreboard again now, where we see Caleb with a vaunted 3 wins and only 1 deck left to go. It's Golos, which is a huge threat regardless of the implications of the tournament. The rest of us are going to have to pull out all the stops now, so let us know in the comments who you think is going to win the next one, and make sure to like and subscribe to get notified when the next episode is going to be out. That's going to be it for this episode, so thanks again for watching, and stay tuned for more.